Good morning. So today we are going to do breakfast in a jar. I have country style sausage and red potatoes. I also have my jars warming up because the sausage will be warm. So I have some 22-ounce jars and some 16-ounce jars in there, along with some water. Can't see it down in there, but it is warming up the jars to match the temperature of my sausage. Well, it also warms the canner and the water. It is not sealed. We're just doing this to warm it up. We don't want it to create a seal. So I have my prep space. I got my parchment paper cutting board. I have a bowl, my knife. The reason we're using red potatoes is the peel on these, if I could focus in, is really thin. So you don't have to worry about it not cooking through when you are pressure canning. It's just a really thin skin. So you can leave the skin on the red potatoes. And then I'm chopping them into decent sized chunks. And they go in a bowl. And then we're just going to fill that up with our 5-pound bag of potatoes. So my potatoes are cut. They are rinsed and soaking in cold water. Soaking them in cold water releases the starch so that you don't have a really cloudy breakfast in a jar. I also have over here my sausage. I am just cooking it down. It does not have to be 100% cooked. It will cook while it is canning. We're just cooking it enough so that it stays separated and does not turn into a meatloaf type consistency in your jar. So my sausage is par cooked, which means halfway. And even though I turned the stove off, it's still hot, so it's going to cook a little bit more while I'm filling jars. I've pulled out my small jars, and I'm going to fill those with potatoes and then top with the sausage, and then I'll get my big jars. So when you're doing your sausage, don't drain the grease. We want that. That'll help flavor the potatoes. The flavor is in the fat, people. So I got a nice scoop of sausage here. And it's just going to go in there. And now the dog has a piece of sausage. It's hard to do this with one hand, but you can see the juices. We want those. I'm going to put my phone down so I could finish my jars. Okay, so I got my rag with vinegar water on it. I have filled these up a little bit more than an inch headspace. The reason I did this is when the potatoes cook, this is all going to shrink down. So your jars will still get a proper seal as long as you clean your rims and don't have anything there. Okay, so we had to adjust the amount of jars we used. As you can see, it's potatoes, has sausage on the top. It is par cooked sausage. It is not all the way cooked because we don't want sausage meatloaf. So I had to adjust and go to 5 big jars and 4 little ones because that's what 5 pounds of potatoes and 2 pounds of sausage filled up for me. So now that they're all in there, they're all finger tight. This one, because it's a solid, I tightened it a little more than finger tight because it's not a flat and a ring, it's a solid lid. So now I'm going to put on my pressure lid. I'm going to turn my stove up to a medium-high heat. Once it's been steaming for 10 minutes, I'll turn it down, let it get to pressure, and cook it for 90 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. We are using the meat times on this because there is meat in there. So I have my lid sealed. We're going to go to a medium-high heat. When this is at pressure, your vent top, your little button here, will pop up. It normally pops up after your steam valve has been steaming for about 8 or 9 minutes. At that point in time, our handy dandy knocker. This one is a 15-pound knocker. It's one that came with the system, so that's what I have. I can at 15 pounds even though I'm at almost 0 elevation. It just makes me feel better. The difference between the weights and elevation is at a higher elevation, you're going to boil at a lower temperature. So all using a 15-pound weight at a low elevation is doing is getting this inside to 250 degrees rather than 240. So I am cooking at a higher temperature. It makes me feel better knowing that that higher temperature is definitely killing any botulism spores that are in the food or in the jar. So I know that my son is safe eating the food I cook. So botulism, it's everywhere. You're breathing it right now. When you lick your fingers after eating a bag of Doritos, you're eating botulism. It cannot live in temperatures 240 degrees and above. So the 10 pounds of pressure at my elevation would get it to 240 degrees. 15 pounds is 250 degrees. If you're at a higher elevation, Texas, Colorado, in the mountains up in Washington, you definitely want to research the elevation chart and the pressure chart to see where you need to be at. I know anything over 1,000 feet in elevation, you have to cook at 15 pounds of pressure because your elevation actually made your boiling point lower. So you have to get the temperature inside the can higher by using a bigger pressure weight. So definitely research what you need to do. Because I have large jars in here, it's going to be 90 minutes. My elevation is 10 pounds of pressure, but I'm doing 90 minutes at 15 pounds of pressure. And that's just to make my little heart feel better when my son eats what I can. And now we're going to turn this down. I know that 2 on my stove is where it's best. I'm going to drop on my knocker, and then it's going to build pressure. So I did that backwards. I'm going to turn it back up slightly. I'm going to let it build pressure and then turn it down. And while we're waiting, I started my little countertop dishwasher. Isn't that cute? Got my plates and my cups and some little jars up in there. Now it's starting to build pressure. Not quite where we want it, but it is getting there. So we're at about 10 pounds of pressure. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down a little bit now because I know that it's still going to heat up to the 15 pounds we need. So also I'm hearing my jars inside, and I put it down to 2. And it's still going up. I'm hearing my jars inside kind of rattle around and clink together. And that's one of the things about not using all the space in your canner. I probably should have took the extra small jar and extra large jar and filled them with water and just used that space. But I didn't. So now I'm going to risk having possibly a broken jar or a couple failed seals. If the seals do fail, I'll just dump them onto a plate, add some salt and pepper, and I'm going to have dinner. But if the broken jars, I don't want that to happen, and it's too late now. You know, hindsight's 20/20. So I'm just going to pray for the best. Fingers crossed, y'all. So I forgot to tell you, when you put that knocker on, set your timer for 90 minutes once it gets to pressure. I'm at 12 pounds of pressure, which is good for me. It's not quite 15, so I'm not going to have the little woohoo, that thing going. But yeah, so about 15, 20 minutes ago, I was like, crap, timer, I better video it. So here it is, it's timing. When this is done, I will turn off my stove and leave it alone until we're at 0 pounds. I hope you all enjoy.